what is up? We are back with a new video, and we are going to close out 2024 with the last 5 mice that I've been testing for the last month. For the month of end of November, December, this is the last 5 mice. We start off with the Ninjutsu Sora, or the Vaxee Sora, the Scyrox V6, the FineMax Noah, this is the ES21M, and this is the Lemokey G2. So we're going to cover all 5 mice for you to make it real quick and fast, and we will start off with the Vaxee Sora. Now TLDR, this is an incredible build and definitely a worthy upgrade to the Sora V2. Now that's not to take anything away from the Sora V2, but with the Sora V2 you could definitely feel the thinner walls and plastic. It's just a different level of QC, and this comes of course at a cost of added weight of 20 grams. Performance wise, you're getting the same solid assuredness of, example, a Viper V3 Pro or a G Pro Super Light. It's no more than a feeling. I would argue that the Lamzu Maya X accomplishes the same thing at 47 grams. So you could say that the Maya X did a better job at balancing the weight to quality ratio. So that's my opinion, but you can't deny that the Vaxee Ninjutsu collab has really stepped up the level of quality for the Ninjutsu Sora. Now of course the shape and size, this is a familiar wedge shape. If you can imagine a VXE R1 with a smaller grip width, the R1 is 59 millimeters here at the smallest point, and the Vaxee Sora is at 56 millimeters. Now on the buttons, the M1 and M2 trigger actuations actually reminded me a little bit of the VXE R1 Pro and Pro Maxes, where there's a little bit of a bouncy pre-travel. But this is the type of feel that some people really like. Now if you notice, the mouse wheel is also significantly lower than normal, but feels very solid. M4 and M5 feels as good as, maybe, or even better than a Razer Viper V3 Pro. This is actually one of the best implementation of side buttons that I have ever felt. It is as good as the best Pulsar or the Viper V3, or any of the top side buttons you can throw in there. This is among the best feelings that you can get for a mouse 4 and mouse 5 button. The coating and the PTFE feet are industry standard, I suppose. Some people say these are the best coatings, but maybe I have rough hands and cannot feel too much of a difference. I wouldn't say like the skates are very good, but I wouldn't be looking to replace them out of the box. There are better skates out there. These are not it, but these are not terrible, or or make me want to remove them and put on aftermarket skates if that makes if that means anything to you. The biggest downside for me is the inability to custom assign the side buttons or the mouse wheel button, to macros or shortcuts. But I think Vaxee will come up with a web UI solution soon, but don't quote me on that. But TLDR, I want to say the Ninjutsu Vaxee Sora collaboration mouse does make sense. It is definitely an upgrade. If you have a Ninjutsu Sora V2, this is better, this is more premium, and it is definitely a worthy upgrade. Now let's move on to the next mouse, which is on my list. Next up is the Lemokey G2. Now this is a completely underrated small mouse that seems to have just flown under the radar. Now if you're in the market for a small wedge shape, what you're getting with the Lemokey G2 is literally a variation of a Pulsar X2 Mini. It's very similar, maybe slightly different in terms of 1mm here, 1mm there, but the silhouette is the same, the feel is going to be the same. The plastic texture, even the plastic texture on the Lemokey G2 feels exactly like what you would get or what you would expect from a Pulsar branded mouse. On the box it mentions the Teflon as PTFE material, and if you're familiar with Teflon at all, Teflon is like a trademarked PTFE brand that belongs to DuPont, which means this is probably the highest quality skates that you can buy, and it is identical to the Teflon or PTFE skates that Pulsar use on their mouse, well, on the X-Lite V3 anyway. So I wouldn't be surprised if these two mice stepped out from the same factory. They have the same color, same white color, they have the same texture on their mouse. So I feel like the Lemokey could be made in the same factory as the Pulsar. That's just my that's what I think. I'm not too sure about it, but it could be that. Now, like I mentioned, it might be made in the same place as Pulsar, right? For $69, you are getting a smoking deal with a 3950 sensor and 8K polling with a micro dongle. You don't need to use any of these big ass dongles. You can just use a regular dongle to achieve 8K polling rate and performance. It's tri-mode, 52 grams. It uses one of the most famous switches, the Huano transparent blue shell pink dots. Let me give you a sound test. These are the side buttons. The value proposition is similar to the Scyrox brand of mice, like the V8 and the V6, which I will talk about a bit later. And at this price point, there's just very few brands delivering this level of quality and performance. I did find an issue with the software when I used higher polling rates, 2000 Hz and above. The DPI tends to slow down, and I have to bring up the DPI to maintain the same 1600 feel that I'm used to. Now, I give this mouse easily a 10 out of 10 if they sorted out their DPI and slash polling rate issue. Now let's move on to the next mouse, which is going to be the Scyrox V6. Now this is a monster of a mouse in every way. This is an upgrade to the first mouse, which is the V8, because I feel like they stepped up the QC on this model, and it feels in the hand more like a $100 mouse. My M1 and M2 buttons do not have the looseness associated with the old V8, and this significantly alters the perception of quality in my opinion. You immediately think, wow, this is more solid and dense, and your brain is wired to interpret that as like higher quality, if that makes sense. It's got the newest 3950 PixArt chip and the Nordic 52840 MCU, and the web UI to manage all the settings of this 42-gram mouse. The shape is almost identical to the F1 Ultimate and the hit scan. Well, not really. The hit scan, of course, and the F1 Ultimate are basically one-to-one, but this is has a slightly taller mid hump compared to the F1 and the hit scan, and this shape is just going to be extremely popular with most people with like medium sized hands. If you find the ATK F1 and the hit scan to be a little small, and maybe the Maya to be a little big, then the V6 will slot right in between those two sizes. And as far as quality goes, the V6 or the the Scyrox V6 and the hit scan are very similar to each other. In my opinion, the V6 is an improvement in quality over the V8. The main switches are the infamous Moron opticals. I call them, well, they're Omron opticals, and if you didn't already know, they are the community favorite right now. I think they're even more popular than the Huano Blue Shell Pink Dots and the Kales 8.0. The click feel is light, fast, responsive, and instant. If you've never tried a mouse with Omron optical switches, then this is a great mouse to try because of the value proposition. Now, out of the box, it is pre-installed with the PTF eFeed, and they are actually pretty good. In my opinion, I wouldn't swap out the stock PTF eFeed. I would keep them the way it is, but I do have a set of what are these? These are called Silver Fox from Unusual Way Esports, which I'm going to install on the Scyrox V6 just to test it out. I wouldn't swap them out for any other reason than to test out some new skates, because these are fine the way they are. They're not the greatest, but they're great. They're fine the way they are. This mouse is an easy 10 out of 10 because of the price point and full features with a very popular shape that is current to the demands of 2024/2025 gamers. Now let's move on to the next mouse, which is going to be the ES21 by RAWM. This is going to be pretty quick. It's also a mouse that isn't famous like the V6 or Vaxee, but I keep my eye out on this brand RAWM because they are making really competitive products with really popular shapes, and in 2025 you can expect them to make even better products. Now, I've already covered this mouse extensively on this channel. If you want to find out more information, you can look up the old videos on the ES21 Pro. The only difference between the ES21 Pro and the ES21M are the mechanical switches on the ES21M and the optical switches on the ES21 Pro. So this is the ES21 Pro and this is the ES21M. That's the only difference. Honestly, I cannot decide which one I like better. Maybe I like the ES21M just a little bit more because I now have a sea of mice that use the Omron optical switches, and this mechanical switch version just gives me a different option and feel, and that's why I'm just gravitating towards it more and more these days. Now, the highlights of the ES21M is of course the shape. It's almost a clone of the Maya X, except it's got a 2mm thinner waist. the grip width, I would say 2mm smaller grip width. So you're getting what I would call a medium plus size, or medium size plus like a Maya X in the same 47 gram weight. Now of course you also get the 3950 sensor and web UI utility for easy settings and 8K performance if this, if you should choose or if you should desire, and that's the RAWM Nugget or the 8K polling rate thing. That was the Vaxee one 4K receiver. That was the Scyrox V6 puck. Yeah, the best feature of this mouse, one of the best features of this mouse is of course the gigantic PTFE feet. I think this is an absolute unit of PTFE footprint. My mouse of the year in 2023 was the Endgame Gear XM2WE, and it also had similar large PTFE footprint, which I believe made a huge difference in flicking and tracking. I have empirical evidence that large PTFE feet were objectively better than corner feet and dots. And let's move on to the last mouse of the lot, which is also one of the most unique. This is the FineMax Noah. This mouse just went live on pre-order a couple of days ago. I've had the testing sample just over a month now. This is a stunning mouse from a design perspective. It's got a magnesium shell with a plastic bottom plate. It's the only mouse here that still uses the PixArt 3395 sensor. It delivers 4K polling with this very fancy looking dongle 4K sloped puck. Pretty cool looking. It weighs 50 grams in the stock configuration with these stock feet. It also uses Omron opticals in its main switches. Being magnesium, the actuation of the M1 and M2 is similar to the Beast X. The stiffness of the magnesium buttons translates to a more crisp and satisfying feeling on the trigger. Now it also has the best side buttons I have ever experienced in a mouse. I understand this might not be everyone's taste, but the M4 and M5 are almost flush to the bottom of the mouse, if you can see. It's flush on the lower side and it's protruding on the higher side, which means your thumb is kind of like sitting in like a cubby hole. It's pretty cool. Your thumb is resting there and you want to actuate the M4 and M5, you just go for it and it's there. It's not for everyone. I know some people are not going to like this, but this is something that I would like for myself. Your thumb just rests directly on it, and for my use case, I found it very convenient and very effective. Take a closer look. I want to show you that angle of that button and how it's flush at the bottom. I hope the camera picks this up nicely for you guys. Oh, I almost forgot to mention the shape of the mouse. It's literally a final mouse medium size. Even the stamped honeycomb design is strategically placed and designed to look like a final mouse, kind of like, the shadow of a final mouse. Don't you think so? Yeah, it's a universal safe shape that most people with regular size hands will be able to enjoy. My only gripe with this mouse is the coating or paint that has started pitting. If you can see where my thumb rests, right here where my pinky rests at the back, and my middle finger rests right here, it started pitting and started eating at the paint of the mouse. So it started corroding where my fingers rest. Now I have alerted the guys at FineMax, and they have assured me that their testing did not produce the same outcome. I did receive an early copy that was under development, so there's most likely improvements that were made along the way before the final product is released to the market. Now this mouse is on pre-sale for $150, and it comes with a bunch of things like, for example, let me move this out of the way. It comes with this dark blue mouse pad made in collaboration with Night Kids, and pretty cool mouse pad. It is a kind of like a speed pad, and it's navy blue. It's pretty cool. It's not super unique or super special, but it is a nice color, and it is a speed pad. It feels nice. It also comes with a hard case, a travel case for your mouse, which looks a lot like a Rimowa suitcase, I guess. You also get some kind of like a gaming sleeve, which I didn't get in my package earlier on when they sent it out. It also has other standard stuff like extra skates, extra dots, extra grips, even a DIY tape, which I assume is just squared grip tape like those from Super Glides or something like that. Anyway, that wraps up my roundup video. I might do a dedicated video on each of them if you guys want it. Let me know in the comments if you want a dedicated video on the any of the mice, any of the 5 mice here. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I'm always active in the chat and on Twitter and on Reddit. I hope you found some useful information on the last 5 mice that I'm testing in 2024, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.